Welcome to episode 132, Spotlight Control Assessments, where we focus on the discipline of verifying controls rather than assuming they work as designed. The CA-2 control reminds organizations that security and compliance require more than good intentions. They demand evidence-based confirmation. Control assessments determine whether safeguards are correctly implemented, operating as intended, and producing the expected outcomes. They translate policy language into observable proof and reveal where improvements are needed. This process is not adversarial but constructive, strengthening the organization's confidence in its defenses. When done well, assessments turn uncertainty into insight and transform compliance from a checkbox exercise into a continuous feedback loop for quality. Building from that foundation, every effective assessment begins by defining its objectives, scope, and methods. Objectives describe what the organization wants to learn: effectiveness, efficiency, or continued suitability of the control. Scope defines which systems, processes, or business units are included, while methods outline how evidence will be collected and analyzed. For example, an assessment might focus on verifying access control procedures across all cloud environments using sampling and observation. Documenting these boundaries ensures focus and prevents wasted effort on irrelevant areas. Clear scope and methods also enable repeatability, allowing future assessors to follow the same approach and compare results meaningfully over time. From there, a balanced assessment applies three complementary techniques: examination, interview, and testing. Examination means reviewing documents, configurations, or logs to confirm that required controls exist. Interviews gather verbal confirmation from those who perform or oversee control activities. Testing verifies that the control performs as expected in real conditions. For example, to assess a backup process, an assessor might review policies, examination, speak with the backup operator, interview, and witness a test restore, testing. Each method reveals different aspects of control maturity. Combining them creates a full picture that neither paperwork nor conversation alone can provide. Building upon that balanced approach, sampling ensures that conclusions fairly represent the population being assessed. It is rarely practical or necessary to test every instance of a control. Instead, assessors select representative samples based on risk, frequency, and materiality. For instance, when verifying account management, sampling might include high-privilege users, recent hires, and terminated employees to reflect varying risk levels. Random selection supports objectivity, while risk-based sampling targets areas of higher exposure. The goal is to reach confidence proportional to the organization's tolerance for error. A sound sampling plan protects both assessor credibility and management's trust in the results. Building on that precision, evidence lineage, who collected it, when, and how, must be preserved for authenticity. Every artifact in an assessment should have traceable origin details that prove its validity. A screenshot, for instance, should include a timestamp and context showing which system it came from. Similarly, interview notes should identify participants and capture the date and purpose of discussion. This lineage ensures that evidence can be verified later, especially during peer review or audit validation. By documenting the chain of custody for information, assessors protect the integrity of their conclusions and the trustworthiness of their work. From there, independence boundaries and role clarity safeguard objectivity. Assessors must remain separate from those who design or operate the controls being tested, avoiding conflicts of interest. This does not require hostility, only structured distance. For example, an internal compliance team may assess another department's controls but should not evaluate their own procedures. Defining roles early prevents blurred lines between assessor and implementer. Independence ensures that findings reflect reality rather than self-confirmation. When properly observed, it builds credibility with regulators, auditors, and internal leadership alike, demonstrating that assurance stems from evidence, not opinion. Extending that structure, findings must follow a consistent format built around condition, cause, and effect. The condition states what was observed. The cause explains why it occurred, and the effect describes the risk or consequence. For instance, condition: password expiration policy not enforced for administrators. Cause: misconfigured group policy. Effect: increased risk of unauthorized access. This structure transforms observations into actionable insights rather than vague critiques. It also helps management prioritize remediation by connecting technical issues to business impact. Clear findings tell a story: what happened, why it matters, and how to fix it. Building upon that clarity, assessors assign severity levels and link findings to organizational risk. Severity expresses how much harm the deficiency could cause if left unaddressed, while risk linkage connects it to broader enterprise categories like confidentiality, integrity, or availability. For example, missing encryption on a sensitive database might be rated high due to potential privacy impact. Severity rationale explains how this judgment was reached, ensuring transparency and consistency across assessments. This calibration prevents overreaction to minor issues and highlights where urgent attention is truly needed. Severity and risk linkage turn data points into decisions. From there, assessments must include retests to verify closures and compensating measures. After findings are remediated, reassessment confirms that corrective actions are implemented and effective. Compensating controls, temporary or alternate measures, are validated for adequacy until permanent solutions are in place. For instance, if a system patch cannot be applied immediately, enhanced monitoring may serve as an interim safeguard. Retests transform remediation from declaration into demonstration. Without them, organizations risk assuming problems are solved when they are merely acknowledged. Ongoing verification keeps improvement cycles credible and measurable. Extending verification discipline. Repository hygiene ensures that artifacts remain complete, current, and traceable. All evidence, reports, and correspondence should reside in an organized system of record with version control. File names, access logs, and metadata provide traceability for future reviews. For example, storing assessment data in structured folders with retention rules prevents loss or duplication. Good repository hygiene supports transparency and continuity when teams or auditors change. It also simplifies trending and analytics across years of assessment data, turning isolated reviews into a growing body of institutional knowledge. Building on that structure, communication cadence between assessors and stakeholders keeps assessments efficient and respectful of operations. Regular briefings before, during, and after fieldwork align expectations and reduce friction. Early communication clarifies timelines and required evidence. Mid-course updates flag emerging issues. Closing meetings confirm understanding of findings. For instance, a weekly status check during a multi-week engagement helps maintain trust and avoid surprises. A consistent cadence balances transparency with focus, showing that assessment is a cooperative process aimed at shared improvement rather than confrontation. From there, tracking metrics such as coverage, defect density, and rework cycles measures the health of the assessment program itself. Coverage reflects how many controls or systems were evaluated. Defect density shows how many findings were identified per control. Rework cycles track how many times issues reappear after closure. For example, frequent repeat findings in the same area may signal training or process weaknesses. Measuring these aspects provides insight into both control maturity and assessment quality. Metrics elevate assessment from a single snapshot to an evolving performance indicator of organizational assurance. In closing, credible assessments drive genuine improvement. The CA-2 control reinforces that verification must be methodical, transparent, and tied to risk. When objectives are clear, evidence is traceable, and findings are communicated constructively, assessments become engines of progress rather than audits of blame. They reveal not only what failed, but how the system learns. By grounding assurance in disciplined observation and structured follow-through, organizations strengthen trust in both their controls and the people who operate them. In the end, sound assessment practice sustains confidence, accountability, and continuous growth. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.